Your Excellency, I am absolutely delighted to be here with you today at the 2024 Future Aviation Forum. And what an incredible presentation on the current state of aviation here in the Kingdom. We're going to get to the Saudi story in a moment, but I want to take a step back. Your Excellency, 2 years ago, we sat on this stage, and the world was a very different place. We were just emerging from COVID. The aviation industry was trying to get back on its feet. Fast forward to today, it's different. Can you give us your sense of some of the biggest trends impacting the aviation industry today?
Thank you, Zach. Let me just, before I answer your question, I would like to again express my gratitude, appreciation for all our distinguished guests and participants who are joining us here today or online. This is really an overwhelming week, and as mentioned by His Excellency the Minister, this is a festival week. The events that are taking place alongside the Future Aviation Forum are really outstanding. We started yesterday with the DGCA, which is the Director General meeting, 8th meeting of the Middle East Civil Aviation, attended and joined by His Excellency Mr. Shikitano. And today we have the forum. Later today and tomorrow we will start the Facilitation Global Summit. 2024 is being labeled by ACAO as the facilitation year, and its facilitation is very important, and it serves the objective of providing better passenger experience globally. And the first ever facilitation summit will be held tomorrow here in Riyadh. Moreover, we are holding the RSO meeting. RSO is a regional Middle East and North Africa regional safety oversight organization that is hosted by the Kingdom in Riyadh, and we're now adding more countries to it, and we will hold the first meeting tomorrow. Also on Wednesday, we will be holding the WAGA meeting, which is the meeting for the ACI, the Airport Council International, an organization that encompasses more than 2,500 airports around the world. So it's really a festival week for global aviation, and I believe this is the largest global event that's taking place in aviation this year in 2024. Finally, I wish to thank our sponsors, in particular NIDLIB, who have been really very supportive since the previous session, and all other co-sponsors. To go back to your question, Zach, I think a lot has happened since we met last time. In terms of volume, the global aviation has been through more change in the last few years than we have never seen in any other industry in history.
Right.
We've gone from almost 0 flights to almost 37 million flights last year. This is unprecedented. And also it proves the resilience and the strength of the global aviation industry. And it also proves that together we can work and join hands to raise to any future challenges. ACAO estimates, if we look at the travel accelerating trajectory, that by 2050, the number of travelers globally will go from about 4.6 billion passengers in 2019 to more than 11.5 billion passengers in 2050.
Right.
Looking at this number, if you go back to 1985, the total global travel was 1 billion.
Right.
In 20 years, this doubled to 2 billion by 2004. In 2019, we reached, before the COVID, it's almost 4.5 billion, and now we're going to 11.5 billion passengers.
Right.
We are seeing really disruptive technologies, disruptive airlines, disruptive techniques in travel, which will impact the travel propensity. We are seeing more segments that are traveling by air who have never traveled by air earlier. All of these good numbers and this massive growth shows you the bright side of the story. Nonetheless, we have challenges.
Yeah.
And there are expected headwinds, speaking with aviation terminology. We have challenges around human capital.
Right.
To cope up with the growth pace, we really need to ensure that we have the right human capital available. The aviation requires highly sophisticated engineers, captains, co-captains, the crew inside the aircraft, the army of technicians and personnel who are working under the aircraft. This is all highly skilled technicians and personnel, and we need to ensure that we have the right pool, the right training, and also the right incentive to keep those personnel and the right retention. The second challenge is funding. I think we are fighting in the aviation sector with other economical sectors to ensure that we have the right funding. And this is, again, a challenge that we need to address. The third, and for me is the most pressing today, is manufacturing and supply chain disruptions. The aviation industry globally today is facing serious shortage of manufacturing capabilities, challenges, and in the whole value chain of the process. And this is an area where we really need to focus on. And I'm sure there are a number of distinguished speakers from the industry and specifically from the leading OEMs who would be speaking later today and tomorrow. And I hope they would be giving us some comfort on the future of the supply.
Yeah.
Finally, as the fourth element I see is really the environmental sustainability. Sustainability is a very important element and objective. We all agree to protect our mother nature. We all agree on specific targets on the net zero carbon emissions by 2050, 2060, 2070, depending on each country's specific conditions. Nonetheless, we agree on what and on why, but we have issues around how. And this is where we need to really sit together. These, at least 4 examples that I have just given are examples of challenges that I expect that this constellation of experts and leaders will be deliberating, will be debating over the next 2 days, and hopefully by the end of the 2 days, we will come with a roadmap as how to deal with these challenges going forward.
So we've talked about volume of aviation, we've talked about sustainability, we've talked about aircraft availability, we talked about human capital, and of course, the Saudi growth story is also addressing some of those own headwinds. I just want to focus in now on what the kingdom has done, thinking about all those challenges, and how the kingdom is driving forward in this aviation sector.
I think the number 2023 has been really exceptional for the aviation sector in the kingdom in particular. We've achieved record figures in travel numbers. We've reached 112 million compared to 88 million in 2022. This is at least 27% increase year on year. In the first quarter this year, we have already witnessed 20% increase, another 20%. This is on the passenger figures. On the connectivity, which is another important objective of our aviation strategy, going from 100 to 250, we reached about 148 direct connectivity or direct destination from the kingdom to international destinations, and this is 47% increase over the baseline year of 2019 when we were at 99. Cargo also, we've not done as good as we anticipated, but we still have about 6% growth in air cargo, reaching about 1 million, and hopefully on the way to reaching the 4.5 million. So these are basic achievements that we have seen in 2023.
Right, and connectivity is obviously a huge focus. What is the kingdom's approach to connectivity? And that's the first question. And second, what we've also seen is governments really struggle in this integration across multiple industries. I know we have His Excellency Ahmed Al-Khatib coming in later, talk about tourism. Integrating all of these industries together, what has the kingdom done in terms of driving that integration across government in order to ultimately drive connectivity?
Well, I think the theme of this conference is the elevating connectivity. Connectivity is very important. The aviation strategy, the National Aviation Strategy, is highly dependent on other strategies nationally, whether it's the tourism strategy, the industrial strategy, the Hajj and Umrah strategy, investment strategy, and therefore, when the National Aviation Strategy was designed and built and approved, it has taken into account all of these other national strategies. Aviation, at the end, is a major economic enabler. I don't think other national strategies will achieve their expected targets if we do not succeed in aviation.
Right.
So to achieve these connectivities targets as mentioned, there are a number of important and integral components of the strategy, starting from airports, from airlines, from aircrafts, from amenities, and we go back to the same, if you recall, the 4 A's we discussed 2 years ago.
Oh, right.
I've added, by the way, a 5th A now.
All right.
But I will come back to it in a while. But on airports, I think His Excellency the Minister and some of the videos showed the progress that has taken place in Saudi airports to go from 120 million today capacity to more than 300. King Salman, the launching of King Salman, the approval of the design, the infrastructure, the master plan. We are already working in the current all terminals, expanding King Salman's and King Khalid Airport from the current 30 plus million. By end of 2025, we will reach 54 million. Right. And on the way to reaching 100 plus million by 2030. King Abdulaziz in Jeddah, which is today is the largest airport in the kingdom. We have reached last year 43 million. We expect this 24 to reach about 50 million. The master plan has been approved. We are now working on different terminals and expansions. It's an airport city. We will have the MRO hub, the cargo and logistic hub, and the Hajj and Umrah terminals. And on privatization. Privatization is another important element in achieving this connectivity. The kingdom has the first successful PPP model in the Middle East region. In 2012, the kingdom signed the first concession agreement with the private sector to build the Medina airport in the West. By 2015, the airport started with 8 million passengers, fully financed and funded and operated by private sector. And 3 weeks back, we've signed an expansion of the same concession with the same concessionaire, doubling the capacity from 8 million to about 17 million by 2028. We've also launched a program of privatizing other airports, other regional airports. In Abha, for example, South, which is our tourist hub. The capacity of the current airport is about 1.5 million. We're expanding the airport to reach 13 million. We've launched the RFQ, or request for qualification, and we were overwhelmed with the positive feedback we received from the international community. More than 100 companies, airport operators, airport contractors, investors, who have showed interest in participating in that airport. This is a testament of the strength of the Saudi economy, a testament of the strength of the aviation strategy, and so on and so forth. We have many other regional airports that we are developing on the privatization. On airlines, we have also launched, as mentioned, Riyadh Air. So we will have 2 legacy main airlines, or full-service companies with the two hubbing strategies, Jeddah and Riyadh. And also we're expanding in the low cost. We have new AOCs to be announced soon in Dammam, and another AOC in Medina and other regional airports. The low cost model is disrupting the market. In the kingdom alone, we've seen an increase of the market share of the low cost carriers over the last couple of years, going from 27% in the domestic market to 42%. International traffic through low-cost carriers has doubled from 16% to 32%. So again, on the airlines, a new AOC, a lot is happening. I think the third A, as we talked last time, is aircrafts. And this is where I see the most stumbling block that may hinder the real growth of the global aviation industry. And as I said in the beginning, I don't want to dwell on this very much because it's a very critical subject, and I hope we, the whole industry can come up with comforting solutions to ensure the availability of the required aircrafts.
And significant orders of aircraft here in the kingdom already over the last 2 years as well.
Indeed. I mean, just to continue on the same subject, we hear that the backlog today is about between 15 to 16,000 aircrafts among the main two AMs.
Right.
To deliver these aircraft to the market, you need 10 to 12 years for delivery. And the challenges are not only limited to the OEMs and the assembly line manufacturers, but also along the whole value chain in engines and in other. And I'm not an expert, but I'm sure in this room and online we have many experienced leaders and executives who I'm sure will be talking about this further. In amenities, I think aside from only the lounges and improved passenger experience, we have launched, as again mentioned, a lot of regulatory reforms in economic policies, in customer protection policies, to ensure that the investment environment in the aviation sector is conducive and attractive for private sector. And also we have the right playground and level playground for all investors, and to liberalize the market of the aviation, whether it's in airports, airlines, all these service providing segments. Finally, and the fifth A is the airspace.
Yeah.
Airspace, the kingdom has huge area. The kingdom's area is about 2.1 million square kilometers, and with the same almost airspace. And the kingdom plays an integral role in connecting west and east on the overflying, landing. Sometimes at peaks, the number of aircrafts that passes the kingdom, either lands or takeoff or overfly, reaches 4,000 a day. Proudly, we have a Saudi air navigation company that is managed by 100% Saudi boys and girls who are managing our skies very safely and very professionally and diligently. And the recent conflicts and turbulence in the region, we've managed to handle the diversion of traffic in hours in a very safe manner. But on the airspace, we're redesigning our airspace to ensure that we have shorter, and of course this is done with our neighbors in the region, creating routes coming from Europe all the way through Africa, Middle East, and going to the Gulf and in the Indian subcontinent. And the objective is to create shorter routes, more efficient, less travel time, which means better passenger experience, and less cost, less ticket price, less fuel consumption, and ultimately better environmental sustainability.
Right. So we've talked now about 5 A's. I actually have never heard that explained in that way. That's a very easy way to also to remember not only the growth story, but also the issues that you've also addressed. Let's now look at some of those issues and some of the solutions to really kickstart the conversation for the next 2 days. You've addressed some of it. What are these key issues that we need to really tackle over the next 2 days?
I think number one, as I mentioned, manufacturing, supply chain disruption. And I think this is something that I would, love to see this constellation of, as I said, of expertise and leaders discuss over the next 2 days to see how can we resolve this issue. Second, of equal importance is human capital. And we have Excellency, the Minister of Human Resources, and we have targets for our own country, but I think we're talking about the global pool of expertise And with the growth prospects in new airlines, new airports, the growth of passenger traffic, this requires army of people and personnel to deal with, provide the right training, the right incentive. And this is an area that needs to be addressed. Funding is another issue. All economic segments, they fight on the same pool for funding. In the aviation is no exception. We have three sources of funding. It's either from government or from the industry itself, the cash generated, or from private sector. If I start with the last one, the private sector, as you can imagine, will only invest in with certain thresholds and IRR returns. If you go to the sector today is, I believe, it's at its peak. We are seeing very positive growth in the whole industry. But like any other sector, like any other economic cycle, we expect to have downturn cycles, and in those times we need government support. Government need to continue to support this sector because of what you mentioned earlier. The aviation cannot be viewed or looked at as pure, profit and loss returns. This is an enabler, and we have to look at the macroeconomic levels. Every position you hire in the aviation creates 3 more positions in the economy, whether it's direct, indirect, or induced. Every dollar you invest or you invest in the industry, you get it back in the GDP in 4 or 5 or $3, depending on how you look at it, whether it's a GVA or GDP. So this is an important and another probably factor that we need to look at. Again, I mean, the environmental sustainability is again, continues to be, at least on the how, continues to be a challenge.
And advanced air mobility, I guess, it is a key issue. You've talked about the fifth around airspace and advanced air mobility. How does a government and how do you yourself address emerging technologies every day and the changes around advanced air mobility?
I think advanced air mobility subject is really exciting and interesting. And as mentioned by the MC, and I would really invite everybody to join and visit the pavilion of the advanced mobility and the eVTOL aircrafts and machines that are being exhibited there by a number of leading companies. Advanced air mobility is coming. It's an important segment of the market. I think the challenge is on us as regulators. We really need to ensure that we have the right regulatory framework that addresses the safety and security and also the air management and space separation between the conventional and the advanced air mobility. But for sure, in a city like Riyadh, where we're going to more than 12 million inhabitants, we definitely need to have this kind of mobility. And we are going to, hopefully in the next Hajj, in less than a month, try our first eVTOL trial in the Hajj season.
Impressive. And then just turning to human capability and human capital. We've talked about 0 to 37 million flights. We're talking about backlogs with aircraft. We need people to power this industry going forward. What is your approach for powering up human capital here in the kingdom? And also, what is that as a signal to the rest of the industry?
That's a very challenging question. And I think we have to, first, this is a reputable and recognized industry. And people aspire to work in the aviation industry. So we have no challenge in that regard. I think it's the pay. We need to review the pay scale and the incentive and the retention provided for this particular segment of the human capital. We as regulator, as industry leaders, need to ensure that we have the right training academies and institutions to ensure that we provide state-of-the-art training requirements for that particular segment. The whole ecosystem needs to work together, whether it's the regulators, other government bodies, airlines, airports, to ensure that we don't really fight on the same pool.
Right. So we've looked at these key issues. Your Excellency, as we come to a close here, what is your message to everyone sitting here in the audience for the next 2 days?
I think the theme of the conference is elevating connectivity.
Right.
And we would like to see connectivity improved. My also humble opinion is that we as regulators, we need to work more toward liberalized skies, open markets, to ensure that we allow for transfer of traffic in a more seamless way.
Fantastic. Your Excellency, you've heard it here. Connectivity, connectivity, connectivity. That is the message. That is the challenge. And we look forward to the conversations over the next 2 days. Your Excellency, thank you very, very much
Thank you,
for your
Zach.
time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.